Hi, my name is Mauricio Martinez, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. And if you're live, hey, welcome. So I'm going to talk to you about business auto deduction and how to keep it safe from the IRS. Now, why am I talking about keeping it safe from the IRS? Well, here's why. When it comes to small business in particular, the business auto deduction, as well as the home office deduction, those are probably the most common deductions that are improperly taken. In other words, they're just not processed properly on small business tax returns because people may not know what they're doing, or they may think that they can probably get away with a little bit more because they want a better deduction. That it happens. So it's really the most common thing when the IRS does an audit, and it's the most common thing they flag that they're going to want to take a look at when it comes to small business. So let's take a look at the business auto deduction. First, let's talk about what the business auto deduction is and how it works. So first and foremost, you need to realize you have two choices, right? You can actually take the actual expense method, or you can take the standard mileage rate method. Now, let me explain both of them, how they work. So when it comes to the standard mileage rate, that's actually probably the easiest one. You can actually get a software. If you go to mileiq.com, that's actually the most common app that our clients are using. And it gives them a complete readout. They use basically GPS, and it gives you an ability to basically tell the software, your app, every single travel you take in the car, you actually tell it, whether it was a business and what it was for. It's fabulous documentation. And again, that's what our clients use most frequently. Now, let me talk about the standard mileage rate for just a second. It's kind of simple. You simply write down the miles that you drove specifically for business, and you multiply them times a rate that the IRS gives you, and there's your deduction. So it's a pretty straightforward. Now, it's very important that you actually have a mileage log so that you actually prove that that was for business. MileIQ actually gives you that. So strongly recommend the software because it's working really well for our clients. Now, again, you have a choice. And part of that choice is you can actually use the actual expense method. Now, the actual expense method means that you actually take the detailed expenses for the whole year of your business car, You take depreciation, gas, oil, insurance, a whole slew of other things that you actually spend on the vehicle. Then you take the percentage of that of the expenses that you actually use for business. So let's say, for example, if you used your vehicle 90% for business, you would take 90% of those expenses as your deduction. Typically, we find that for people who have a lot of miles, the mileage rate tends to actually perform better in terms of a deduction. But it really just depends. So the best thing to do is actually keep track of your total expenses and keep track of your mileage so that at the end of the year, you can actually see which one was better. Now, there are certain regulations about whether you can go back and forth from one or the other and when you can do that, but that's for another time. But here's the problem, and this is the part that I really want you to pay attention to. You can take mileage, or you can take the actual expense method, but you can't take both. And what happens, at least what we've been seeing a lot of times, is that people are taking both. It could be because they don't know how the software works. We're not sure exactly what it is, but we've been seeing a lot of times that we have to fix these things. And again, this is also why the IRS would actually consider this more of a flag. In other words, when they come and do an audit, and you know what, audits just happen. It just that way. But at least you'd be ready for an audit, right? So when they go into an audit of a small business, this is one of the things that they're going to want a record on. The other problem that we see is that people have no mileage record. In other words, you don't even have beginning mileage at the beginning of the year and ending mileage at the end of the year. Or you don't have, for example, something that says, I went to the store on this day. Now, mind you, and the IRS is actually listening to this video, so they know what I'm talking about. If the IRS sends you a letter and they say, hey, you know what, we need to see your mileage record for the trips. Well, a lot of times people don't have that record per se, but the IRS still is giving you an audit. So what you can do at that time is actually you can go to your calendar, and most of us have some type of a business calendar, and look at the businesses that you've actually gone to or business trips that you took. You can Google that, Google the mileage, and there you can actually recreate your record. There's nothing illegal about that. It's just simply if you didn't create it originally, you're going to have to recreate that record. Now, back to a common error. So here's the most common error that we've been actually seeing on a lot of returns. These are clients that we've actually gotten from, for example, they used to do their own return and now they're coming us for a return, or they're coming to us for an amendment. The most common error we've seen in this area is depreciating the vehicle and taking mileage at the same time. You can't do them both. So again, depreciation, you can depreciate the vehicle and take other expenses, or you can take mileage, but you can't take both. Again, that's the most common one that we have seen. Now, a question I get, especially now towards the end of the year, can I deduct the entire purchase price of my business vehicle? And the answer is, it depends. And are you sure you want to do that? Let me explain that. First and foremost, it depends. Can you deduct the entire vehicle in the entire purchase price? Well, a lot of it depends on the weight of the vehicle. Not the weight, so to speak, but actually the gross vehicle weight rating of the vehicle. In other words, how much total it can actually hold, the type of vehicle that it is, whether it's a sedan, whether it's a truck, the percentage of use. How much of it are you using for business? Is it more than 50%, less than 50%? Do you want to take a Section 179 deduction, or do you want to take bonus depreciation? There's a lot of choices here. But regardless of whether or not, let's say you can take the entire vehicle as an expense, the other thing you have to think about is what's going to happen in the future years, right? Because let's say that you're actually going to be making a lot more money in future years, then you're not going to be able to depreciate as much of the vehicle or use as much of the vehicle as you'd like to actually reduce those taxes in the future. So it's a little balancing act, and you really want to pay very close attention to that, and not just try to get it as low tax as you have right now, because that might be something that you want to take a look at in the future. Okay, so how do you make sure that the IRS doesn't end up taking away this wonderful deduction for business vehicle? Well, first and foremost, pay attention to the laws. The law changes often. I won't say every single year, but it does change often. So just because something was able to be done in 2017 doesn't mean it can be done in 2018, or it'll be able to be done in 2019. The law changes, and sometimes every single year. So pay attention to the laws. If you want to do your own tax return, I think, more power to you. I think that's great. But you need to, you need to learn about the law and see what it really says. The second thing is, if you're using a software, you're doing it yourself, you're going to use a software like, let's say, TurboTax, which is a very popular software for individuals to use. Don't go around the software controls. One of the things TurboTax does is it asks you a lot of questions, right? About for example, the vehicle that you're depreciating. Don't do it some people seem to do, which is, what's the right answer so that I can get the biggest deduction? That's not how it works, okay? That's how you end up getting in trouble. So listen to the questions, or read the questions that carefully that the software is asking you. And don't go around those controls, because all you're going to end up doing is getting yourself in trouble. Now, I know a lot of people tell me the same thing every time. My buddy's doing it, and he's never had a problem. And my answer to that is, has he ever been audited? And most of the time, people will say, no, he's never been audited. Well, that's why. Look, you can take any deduction you want as long as you don't get caught, right? That's how some people look at tax law. And if you haven't been caught, great. But if you do, then you've got problems, because you've got penalties and you've got all this money to pay back. Finally, get professional help. That's what we're here for. That's why we get training. That's why, we go to professional training every single year to get caught up on tax law. And that's what we're here for. So if you want that professional help, you know what? There's a button below this video, or there's a link right to the side that will to hawkinsmartinez.com, our website. And it's to the Schedule Now page, which will actually give you an opportunity to actually schedule an appointment with me or my partner, David Hawkins, and we'll be able to talk to you and see if we can actually get your business to do your tax return. I think you're going to like what you see, and you're going to feel a lot better about being able to feel that your return is going to be done accurately in a timely basis. And you know what? We can get that thing pretty much audit proof. How do we do that? Again, the things that I just told you. We pay attention to the laws. Whatever tools we use, we don't go around the software controls, because that's what they're there for. And we get all the training that we need, so we know exactly what we're doing, so that we can actually give you the absolute best deduction, and at the same time, keep you out of trouble with the IRS. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Have an awesome day.